of Life Motivational and Instructional Group, Incorporated. The purpose is to provide both the Muslim public as well as the general public via multimedia presentations, guest lecturers, authors, educators, public representatives, etc., information pertaining to the 5 major areas of society, which are family, economics, government, education, and culture. This information will be specifically designed to appeal to the third resurrection generation of people ages 18 to 44. Our speakers will provide us with insights into how societies are formed, structured, sustained in all areas of vital areas. Health and wellness, popular music will be 2 of the major themes in addressing the cultural aspect also. Celebrities will be encouraged to participate. We hope to be able to have these forums at least once a month at specific locations throughout New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. His Sunday class, The Sacred Secret of Language, of Religion, and Culture. This is a class that meets at 1 p.m. every Sunday at the Human Restoration Center, 14264 Rockaway Boulevard, Jamaica, New York, and has been ongoing for approximately 2 years now. It deals with the fundamentals as well as the complexities of language and focuses very highly on the insights into language, particularly Quranic terminology. Provided for us for over 33 years by our Imam W.D. Muhammad. The intrinsic meanings of each letter in both the Arabic and English letter systems are dwelled into deeply. Also, it is open to all and will soon be available online. He says, I will be making a PowerPoint presentation and will bring both a laptop as well as a memory stick. Thank you again for the invitation and the opportunity to continue the work of our beloved Imam, W.D. Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, I bring to you Imam Benjamin Bilal. Takbir. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It is a pleasure to be with you at this very, very blessed event sponsored by the M.A.L.I Institute, an institution that all of us should fervently support. We're very, very thankful for this opportunity, and it is my desire, as my brother before me, who did an excellent job. I can't wait until that is transcribed and in book form, because it represents this new mind that Allah has blessed many of us to come into under the tutelage of Imam W.D. Muhammad. And that is indeed a mercy for us. So again, we begin Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. We thank Allah for the blessings on our people and on our nation and actually on our world in giving us a mind such as Imam W.D. Muhammad's, giving us a spirit, a correct attitude, and a logic in the form of Imam W.D. Muhammad. Imam Muhammad, for me, represents a language environment, not just a physical flesh and blood person. He represents a language environment that all of us are duty bound to study and to apply. So we say with Allah's name. I like to say with Allah's signature. Your name is your signature. And your signature is supposed to be you. And as Muslims, we know that we begin everything that we do of significance with Bismillah. Minimum, Bismillah. So if we are going to do something that we know in the conscious mind is wrong, we would be hard pressed to begin with Allah's signature. When you go to the bank to withdraw your money, they ask you for your signature, and your signature represents your permission. So those things that we know we do not have permission from Allah to do, we would be very, very hard pressed to begin that thing with Bismillah. It would be a forgery, wouldn't it? Yes. I'm going to rob a bank, and before I step in, I say Bismillah. I do this with Allah's permission. That's ridiculous. And this is a part of the grand scale of logic that has been presented to us by Imam W.D. Muhammad. He has taught us to be thinkers par excellence. Yes. So Allah's name is His signature. You say, well, what is His signature? He tells you right after that. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. So look for those things that represent Allah's mercy. Look for those things that represent Allah as a benefactor. Look for those things in the life of society that represents redemption. How Allah saves creation over and over again. And all of those things that we come upon which represent that kind of grand mercy, grand benevolence, compassion, those are the things that Allah signs off on. So all of the things that we might become involved in that are the antithesis of that, those are the things that Allah disapproves. And it's really that simple. Be merciful. This represents Allah's mercy, especially in the physical absence of Imam W.D. Muhammad. So I'm here today to talk about consonantal connections in the Qur'an. And I have subtitled it, Back to the Fitrah. You've heard of Back to the Future, right? Yeah. Well, we're here to talk about Back to the Fitrah. Because the reason why many of the so-called scholars of the Islamic world have accused Imam W.D. Muhammad of bid'ah. Brother, where did you get that? That is not in the Qur'an. They have accused him of such because they were not able to trace his trail. His trail does not lead back to other scholars. His trail does not lead to the four major schools of thought. His trail leads directly back to the fitrah. And the fitrah represents the natural pattern that Allah has established everything in created matter upon. Everything in created matter has its own unique behavior, its own way of responding. Imam Muhammad diligently studied creation. One of his children told me that when they were young, they used to observe him out in the front yard, standing just looking at the grass for hours, just studying the behavior of the grass. So along with studying our books, which is all and well, that's good, but we need to study the original expression. And I believe our Imam before us spoke on that. Creation itself. Nature is the first teacher, Mother Nature. What is a consonant? The English word consonant is composed of two essential words. Con, which means with, and a sonant, which is where we also get the word sound. Sonar, sonant, sound. So a consonant is something that exists with sound. And I apologize for not having that PowerPoint presentation, but the power will be in the point. So just use your mental blackboard today. Alhamdulillah. With sound. The Arabic language is a language that is essentially made of consonants. And the vowels are added in order to give those consonants their expression. Within the English language, we have both consonants and vowels put together. So we have A, B, C, D, E. We have the vowels put within the context of the alphabet structure itself. In Arabic, that's not the case. All of the letters that are given to us in the Arabiya are consonants, which are assigned vowels. That's very important for us to understand in understanding linguistics. Now, if a consonant is that which exists with sound, then that means that a consonant such as B, D, T, K cannot have an expression unless a vowel is added to it. So although we say B is a consonant, B cannot be expressed without the E sound, which is actually a vowel. I remember Imam Muhammad once saying in an Arabic class at Malcolm Shabazz back in the 80s that a consonant's true sound is just that's it. He called it the soul of the letter. So the soul of the letter has to be breathed into in order for it to become a living soul. So when you add that breath vowel, because all vowels are breaths, ah, e, oo, you add that breath to the consonant and it gives the consonant its expression. I liken vowel unto the wife, and I liken the consonant unto the husband. The consonant exists because the mouth is able to make certain connections. Connections in the mouth. The B, the lips have to connect. The K, the back of the throat has to connect. The T, the teeth have to connect with the tongue. All of the consonants exist because the mouth is in connection with itself. Just like on the most part, the male is out making the connections in the society. But the one who keeps the real life of the family prospering is the wife. So some people have said she should be seen but not heard. Well, that works against this principle. This principle says she should be seen and heard. In fact, mister, you cannot express your true self without her. That's a lesson for those of us who are still waiting. And when I say us, I'm not including me. I have found my vowel. And when you get married, they say you take a vow, right? That's right. Oh, yeah. So we're talking about consonants. Consonantal connections in the Qur'an. The English language is an invented language. A lot of people are not aware of that. The English language is not a language that grows directly out of Mother Nature, as Arabic does, and as some of the other Semitic languages do. It is a language that is an extract based on the study of many other languages. English is what is technically called a bastard language, meaning it has no true mother or father. So some of its words come out of the French language, some come out of it's a Germanic language. Some of it comes out of the German language, some of it comes out of the Hebrew. Many of the words in English come out of the Arabic. And much of the English terminology and concepts have been influenced by Quranic logic. Quranic logic. So when Imam Muhammad would speak on certain ideas, I would just get busy studying the trail. Say, well, where did he get that? And I mean, starting from when he said, man means mind, I said, where did he get that? Right. Because I went to my standard dictionary and I couldn't find it. I said, man, it said a human being. Male. That's what I got from my standard dictionary. But Allah bless me to see that you need more than just a standard dictionary to understand language. Everyone in here, along with their standard American dictionary, should also have an etymology dictionary. And an etymology dictionary is going to give you the origin of the word, how the word began. And that is very important for understanding language. We're still talking about the English. In our language, in our popular greeting, we say Assalamu alaikum. And we translate that into English as peace be upon you. Peace be upon you. But peace, and that completeness. So we could also interpret that as may wholeness be upon you. May Allah bless your life with completeness. May Allah bless you to be a person who completes your mission here as a human creature. It's a dua, we all know that. But it alludes to wholeness, and it is the effort towards wholeness that is going to bring you peace. It is our inability to bring things together, to bring the logic together. I'm talking about the logic for life, the logic for living. It is our inability to bring that together which is causing the situation that we have that works against the peace. Whenever you see people who are not at peace, it is because they are dealing with fragments of their own reality. And fragments work against the whole. So it means wholeness. And in English we have the word health. And in health we have the word heal, H-E-A-L. And the English word heal, as well as the English word whole, comes from the Arabic word hilal. You say, but hilal means permissible. But that's a secondary meaning. What makes it permissible? Why did Allah permit us to eat halal? Because those things that Allah has made permissible for us are contributing toward our wholeness. And our wholeness represents the health. It represents our healing. Whether it's in the foods or whether it's in anything else that Allah has made permissible. He permitted it because it contributes toward the complete picture that Allah wants His human creature to come into. So the English language was invented and it was designed for satire. It was designed by a group of monks primarily called the Benedictine monks. And they would share understanding in the language with each other. Because the common masses were considered too ignorant to share this high wisdom with. So they invented letters that had uppercase and lowercase. What they call majuscule letters. That's your capital A, B, C, D, so forth and so on. And then they had other letters called minuscule letters. We see them as capital and small letters. But the capital letters had their own distinct meanings that most people in the public sector are not aware of, are not taught in public school. But that capital A means something to them. That capital B means something to them. They studied the languages that came before them, primarily that came from the Phoenicians. And they studied the meanings of those letters as they existed in these ancient cultures, including the hieroglyphs of ancient Egypt. And many of those meanings are inculcated into the standard English lexicon. But it is only taught among a certain elite group of people. So when they use language, when they choose words in the public, in the media, they choose words to signal certain ideas to each other that we never catch. But Allah is blessing us to play catch up today. Imam Muhammad practically coined the term human excellence. You didn't hear that term too much, if at all, before Imam Muhammad's tenure. Human excellence. And Imam Muhammad told us in 1975 that human means humus, mind. What a powerful description of that word. Humus, mind. Now, unless you're into botany, the study of plants, You may not be familiar with the term humus, but humus simply means productive soil. Not just any soil. It has to have water content in order for it to be productive. If you drop a seed on dry soil, you get no growth. But if you drop a seed on soil that has been rained upon or watered correctly, you are going to see growth come out of that soil. So he said that human means humus, and that man means mind. Humus, mind, human. So the humus is dealing with the water content, and the mind is dealing with the light content. Light, rational thinking. Imam Muhammad explained to us clearly that water is a symbol of your moral nature. The nature in you to make moral choices, moral decisions. And those moral decisions are based upon rational logic or rational information. So the two actually work together to establish the human life. Moral thinking and rational thinking. Both of those ideas are tied into the term human. And Imam Muhammad said not too long before he passed, he said that when you look into the Qur'an and you see the word or the term Muslim, he said just substitute it with human. He said a true human is a true Muslim, and a true Muslim is a true human. Our Prophet Muhammad said that every child is born, they translate it Muslim, although it says upon the fitrah, ala al-fitrah. But the fitrah and what a Muslim truly is synonymous. It's synonymous. We're talking about going back to the fitrah. When Imam Muhammad introduced knowledge to us, he was not introducing knowledge as we understand knowledge from the average dictionary, or as it is described in the average dictionary. Knowledge coming from Imam W.D. Muhammad represents identification and definition. Imam Muhammad redefined concepts for us. And he gave those words, those concepts, identification. Just as Allah says he taught Adam the names of all things. He was teaching Adam identification. Some translated the nature of things. He taught Adam the natures of things. The nature represents the intrinsic value, not the surface value. Right. The nature represents that which operates internally as a behavioral mode. That's what Allah blessed our Imam W.D. Muhammad to present to us. And because of that, we have a unique way of presenting information that the world has yet to benefit from. But they will. They will. I remember hearing Imam Qasim years ago speak on the concept of Qur'an bil Qur'an. That we are to use the Qur'an as the first step in defining the Qur'an. Not the dictionary, the Qur'an itself. Where is that term, or where are the root letters for that term found in other places in the Qur'an? And then compare those definitions to themselves to come up with a conceptual picture of what Allah means when He uses this term in the Qur'an. So Allah says that He created us from an alaq. He created, as Imam Fahim said before me, al-insan. Powerful term. And for those who have not yet gotten started in the study of the Arabiya, if Allah gives you 5 and 6 different words in the Qur'an and all of them are translated as man, realize what you're missing. Al-insan, bashar, rijal. All of these different terms are translated as human, or man, or male, or female, untha, dhakar. Which part of your humanity is Allah addressing? Aren't you curious to want to know that? Yes. So Allah says, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Khalaqal insana min alaq. And also in the verse that our Imam Fahim spoke to in his presentation, that Allah the merciful benefactor, Ar-Rahman, Alim al-Qur'an, Khalaq al-Insan. That he taught the Qur'an, Khalaq al-Insan. The same phrase as given in Surah Iqra. Khalaq al-Insana min alaq. He created al-Insana from an alaq. So the alaq becomes synonymous with the Qur'an. Taught the Qur'an. Khalaq al-Insan. Created al-Insan. In the other verse, created al-Insan from an alaq. So whatever that alaq represents, and Imam said it represents blood adhering. This is blood adhering. And al-Insana is being created here par excellence. Because al-Insana also represents the social man. Not just any man. Not the antisocial man. Represents the person who has come into a recognition of their social obligations. Al-Insana. And because they recognize that they are social creatures, it is the social nature or the social urge in the human being that brings them into moral awareness. Because there is no moral awareness until there's social awareness. Until there's some social agreement. When you are by yourself, you can do what you want to do, and most people would not consider it to be immoral. You could hang from your chandelier for all we care. But as soon as somebody from the civilized world sees you, it becomes a moral issue. You have a license, brother, to do with your wife what you want to behind closed doors, and it is halal for the Muslim. Encouraged by the Prophet, said you get blessings, you get rewards. But as soon as you open up your door this much, and your neighbor is able to peek through, that same acceptable action becomes haram. Same action. But because it was within the purview of other people, it became a moral issue. So there are no moral issues until we come in contact with other people. Imam Muhammad said morals come in twos. They come in twos. We're getting there, and I'm going to be right on time. It was mentioned yesterday by Imam Salim that every letter in the Arabic letter system has its own unique meaning. Here's where we're going. Every letter has its own unique meaning. That means that every letter, alif, ba, ta, tha, etc., if it has its own meaning, that means that every letter is actually a word. Correct?
Yes.
And if every letter is a word, that means that every word, which consists of letters, 2 and 3 letters, every word then is actually a sentence. Let that settle. So look at how much Allah has put into the Qur'an based on that understanding. That's why Allah challenges them. Come up with a surah like it. And then He tells them right behind that you can't do it. In other words, I'm Allah, but I'm not even going to waste your time. You can't do it. It's divinely arranged based on the meanings. Every letter has a phonetic value, meaning it has a value in terms of how it sounds. It has a meaning also in terms of how it falls on the ear. And it also has value as a pictograph, meaning a picture. The way it is written also holds meanings. And Allah employs all of these meanings when He presents us with His word in the Qur'an. It has value in terms of how it sounds, and it has value in terms of how it actually is structured as a picture. As a picture. And this is not only true for Arabic, it's true for most languages that are in written form. They have phonetic value, and they also have value as pictures or pictographs. Now, this letter Aleph has a meaning. You can see very clearly that it's a word. It's not just a sound. Aleph, that's a word. Sod, that's a word. Kaf, these are words. These are not just sounds coming out of the mouth. These are words. Aleph means strong. Ancient people who employed this letter in their alphabet, they originally used those things that they found in nature, as was said before me, to teach them their first lessons. So they looked at what they had in front of them. They looked at the ox, and they used the ox to fashion that particular letter, Aleph. Even as it has been sifted down into the English language, our capital A, if you turn it upside down, represents the ox head with the two horns. So it means strong, it means strength. It also means to protect, because the strong one is supposed to be the protector. It also means to have a covenant. How do we know that from the Qur'an? Allah says in the surah on the Quraysh, لِإِلَافِ Quraysh, for the protection of the Quraysh. Ilafi, Aleph. For the covenant, it's also translated, of the Quraysh. لِإِلَافِ Quraysh. So the meanings of these letters are actually found within the context of the Qur'an itself, not within the context of certain writings from previous scholars. Imam Muhammad has trained our minds to search the fitrah. And in searching the fitrah, Allah allows those words to jump out at you when you read the Qur'an. And you say, this is the justification for this letter. Alhamdulillah. So that's Aleph. Then we have Ba. And I scratched my head for days over Ba. I said, it sounds like the sheep. I said, are they trying to get us to be sheep all over again? Now someone asked yesterday, well, what are his sources? And I explained to a group that we had dinner with yesterday that if a man wants to marry a woman, who does he go to find out about that woman? Who does he go to first? Huh? Yes, the wali. And the wali then gets information from the family, the people who know her best, and vice versa. You go to the people who know that person, who were raised around that person, who have similar likes and dislikes as that person. And it's the same thing with the study of language families. Arabic exists also within the context of a language family. We call it Semitic. So I searched other Semitic languages. And I said, well, what does this letter mean in their family? In all of the language groups that I searched, their letter B meant house. So I said, well, our Ba must be a shortened form of bait. And it was that simple. In Hebrew, the word is Beth, and it means house. Beth Israel, house of Israel. Bethlehem, house of bread, and on and on and on. So if Aleph is linked with bait, and bait means house, then what does Aleph bait mean? If you put them together. Yeah. It means the strength of the house, or the strong one in the house. We call him Abba. Yeah, Abu. Father. Yeah, the father is supposed to be the strength of the house. Somebody come knocking on that door trying to sell something and say, hey, wife, go see who. Well, see what that dude wants at the door. While he continues to look at the game. No, the father is supposed to get up and say, what are you trying to sell my wife? Because he'll go right around you to get to your wife. Is the woman of the house home? But he's not supposed to be appealing to the woman of the house. He's supposed to be appealing to the strong one in the house. The one that will make the decision where this money is going to go. If this is necessary for the growth of this family. So Abba. Now I know some women might say, well, why is he the strong one of the house? I'm strong too. That's right. That's why Aleph is in your name also. That's Aleph and a double mean. in a double meaning. Alhamdulillah. We talking today. That's all. Alhamdulillah. So what is, we know what aleph is. What does this mean? Meme in every language, including English, means water. That's what the word means. It means water. It can also mean blood. And it can also refer to practically any liquid. So she is strong water. And I already told you that water is symbolic of the moral nature. She is the one who teaches the strength or does that which strengthens the moral qualities in the family. She is the first moral teacher of those children, teaching them right and wrong, good and bad. Back in the ancient days when houses were made as tents, the women would actually gather up what they call the scum that came in from the ocean when the wave would rest. And it was a thick substance that would come in with the water. She would gather that and she would boil it. In boiling it, it became sticky like glue. And she would use that glue to patch up the holes in the tent. Now that's the concrete picture. What is the abstract picture?
Holding the family together.
The mother is the one who holds the family together. That's right, sister. How does she do it? With her moral influence, primarily. With her moral influence. She patches up any disconnect. When she sees that house becoming divided, she is the one to bring moral guidance and moral intelligence to bring that family back together. And because of that, the English language took from the name to get the English word arm. A-R-M. They added an R. But it means to hold things together. Doesn't she hold that young baby with that arm like that? That infant? The mother does that. So she is ummah. And you know, our community is ummah. So what is our job, if I'm correct? To keep each other together. To keep us in touch with each other. And to make sure that the overriding moral principles are in place. So that we do not experience fissures in the tent. Divisions, unnecessary divisions in the house. Imam Muhammad left us a very beautiful house. It's a palace. They say he didn't leave anybody anything. You're crazy. He left us a grand palace. And we have to make sure that that palace stays intact. Now there is something in language called Grimm's Law. I'm actually just giving you points for study. I'm not going into any deep elaboration today in the time that we have. But as scholars and budding scholars, and I'm speaking to every individual in this room, I consider you to be a scholar or a budding scholar. We should have this information. Look up something called Grimm's Law. G-R-I-M-M'(S), law. Grimm was one of the fabled writers, yes. Grimm's fairy tales. The Brothers Grimm, correct. Grimm's Law postulates that consonants are interchangeable. Interchangeable, meaning based on where a sound falls in the human mouth determines whether you can actually interchange that consonant with a different consonant. And these interchanges have taken place as language has traveled from one country to another. So for instance, in Arabic we have fa, the F sound. But in Urdu, they have the P. We don't have a P. Their P is our F. Why? Because F and P are labials. You have to connect the lips in order to pronounce them. So wherever those connections fall for the consonant, you can interchange those letters. And that's a very important lesson for us to learn when we're studying linguistics and studying the Qur'an, because Grimm did not invent that. Grimm peeped that. So there are what are called dentals, gutturals, These are consonants. A dental is T. Any consonant that you have to touch your teeth, your tongue touches your teeth. So T, say T. You feel it, right? Say D, right? Those are letters, pardon me, that are considered dentals. Then you have letters that are guttural, the letters that have to be pronounced from the back of the throat, like K. In Arabic, kha. You feel it back there. Say kha. Say qaf. You feel it in the back of your throat. That's the gutter. So they're called gutturals. You also have nasals, and there are only two of them no matter what language you look at. They are the letter M. Say M. You feel it in your nose. And N. You feel it in your nose? Well, when Allah uses those letters in the Qur'an, in particular words, the nasal and whatever the nasal represents as a symbol or as an abstract idea is also a part of the meaning of that word. You have palatals, where the tongue has to touch the top of the mouth. You have liquids, the letters L and R. They are interchangeable. Now let me give you another quick for instance before I move on and complete this. The word father in Latin is called pater. You see how the F interchanges with the P? Right? Pater, father. And there are many examples of this. Now, in the Qur'an, Allah tells us that our father is Adam. Adam. And Adam is not a name that originates with the Qur'an, as we all know if we read even the Bible. But it even predates the Bible, scripture. Adam. In the Qur'an, the angels are pictured asking a question to Allah when Allah announced that He was going to create a Khalifa fil ard. Not on the earth, in the earth. They asked Allah, are you going to create one who is going to make mischief? Yes, sir. And shed the blood? Not blood, the blood. Adam. That's what it's called in the Quran. Adam or Al-Dam. So the word for blood in Arabic is dam. That's Adam's name minus the vowel. That is Adam's name minus the breath. So what did Allah say? When I have breathed into him of my ruh, then I bet you'll make sense. So he wasn't worth a damn, excuse the expression, before the breath. The breath also represents the spirit or the spiritual component. And we know from understanding the language of our Imam Muhammad that blood is also a symbol of the social nature. Because the physical blood does in the physical body what the social life does for the community. The blood takes in the food, takes in oxygen, and it distributes the nutrients to each vital area of the body. And that is exactly how a prosperous community operates. So because of that, the blood became a symbol of the social life. So what is Allah saying? I don't just want socialism for my community. I don't just want a great social idea. I want a social idea that is married to my will. So the ah, which is the first sound that every infant makes when they come to earth. Ah, that first breath represents the ruh, or the spirit from Allah. And that spirit of Allah is coupled with the social nature. That is your Adam. The spiritual life joined with the social life. Allah does not just want a purely spiritual community of angels, and He tells you that in the Quran. If you had been that, I would have sent you an angel as a messenger. And He doesn't want a community of people who have a great social idea but no respect for a creator. He just got rid of one of those not too many years ago. He wants the balance between the spiritual life and the social life. He doesn't want the life of the monk up in the mountains, communicating with God but disassociated from social concern. We'll speak to God for you. You handle the muddy stuff. We don't want to get our hands dirty. We have to communicate with God. That idea is dissipating in this world. And Allah is bringing about His balance. Consonantal connections in the Qur'an. We have the idea of planting seeds in our language. And we assign that to the farmer. Planting seeds. In Arabic we have the letter Sad. The letter Sad is where they get the English word seed. And if you look at the pictograph of Sad, it looks like a seed. It's where they get that idea. It is also where they get the English term Sad, meaning the soil, the environment for the seed. So understanding this, when we begin to look at words in Arabic that employ that particular letter or group of letters as they are explained, you're going to begin to see nuances of understanding that emanate from the root message or the root meaning of that word. Our word salat begins with sod, not seen. And even in the physical demonstration of sajda, which is an essential part of the salat, in essence, we are taking this seed and planting it in that earth. Pardon? That's right. That's right. That is right. So these things are essential for our understanding. You have the letter lam, which is the English L, they say. And lam looks like a hook. Correct? Looks like a hook. Because the meaning for lamb is hook. It means a shepherd's hook, like the one Moses had. And in the description of Moses' usage of his hook is the definition for that letter. Allah asked him, what do you do with that? What is that in your right hand? Why did Allah say right hand? Why didn't He say left hand? Why did He just say, what is that in your hand? Everything in the Qur'an that Allah says is essential for understanding. So I ask you brothers who are looking for right hand possessions, thinking that they represent concubines, chick on the side, as the Pointer Sisters used to say. You got the wrong idea. No. Qur'an says that I have to look at what Allah said to Moses about his right hand and then compare that to what Allah says about right hand possessions. Maybe I have the wrong idea. Maybe it involves some work. Yeah. They think it means I don't have to be responsible. I can go handle that and not have to pay her rent. Nothing. Right hand possession. And then when I'm finished, be to me like the back of my mother. That idea has been sold to us by people who do not understand their religion. But Allah is blessing us. We're playing catch up. Alhamdulillah. So, lam means to teach. When the shepherd holds that hook and he sees his sheep in danger, he can hold that hook with the straight end and take the hook end and grab the sheep by the neck and pull it away from danger. When he's doing that, it represents learning. The sheep is learning what not to do, where not to go. When he takes it by the hook end and points with the straight end, he is teaching. He's telling the sheep, I want you to go in that direction. So because of that, the pointer, by extension, became the tool of teaching for most teachers up until very, very recently. Those of you who are my age or older, you remember going to grade school and the teacher would have a pointer pointing at the board. They get that from the shepherd's hook. So lam represents teaching and learning. So when we say, use the preposition li, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, it means that the praise goes in the direction of Allah, correct? It means to go to or towards something. That's learning. That's teaching. And yesterday, in my conclusion, we spoke about the word sabil and what Imam Muhammad said concerning the word sabil. He said that sabil represents institutions, not just some idea of being good, doing good. Sabil represents a horizontal path as opposed to Sirat al-Mustaqim, which represents a vertical path. And Imam Muhammad described that as the cross, right? Alright, so the Sabil represents the horizontal path. And the horizontal path is another way of saying the social path. Because as Imam Muhammad stated, if you walk this way long enough, you're eventually going to run into another person. So it represents a social concept, as opposed to the Sirat al-Mustaqim, which represents a spiritual concept. So the Sabil represents a horizontal path, and if you look that word up in the dictionary, it's going to tell you also that what qualifies it as a Sabil is that it has a public fountain. A water fountain. Oh, there's some water on that road. And remember what I told you in terms of how the social life brings us into the moral life. And water is a symbol of the moral nature. And it has to be a public fountain, one that everybody can drink from, not just the elite. Your institution cannot be just that which feeds the elite. It has to be that which feeds the urge for moral development and intellectual development on the part of the masses in general. That's what M.A.L.I is. That's what many of the institutions that people right in this room have established speak to. One of the things that is described in the dictionary that was recommended to us, and I believe many of you have it, M.A.L.I, the dictionary of the Qur'an, he makes a very important statement about these consonants. He says that you can even rearrange the consonants. For instance, if we have sabil, sin, ba, lam, if you can see it in your mind, you can rearrange them and it will still have a related meaning. A related meaning. So I looked at sabil and I said I can also get ba, lam, sin, which is the root for Iblis's name. So I said, now what does Iblis have to do with the sabil? Because Iblis is the one who poisons your social life. Now keep in mind, he wasn't Shaitan when he was Iblis until he rebelled. And Iblis's name as a root word means to despair, to give up hope.
Wow.
So how does that relate to sabil? Because sabil is not just a path, it's a path that has an eventual end.
Right.
You know, we have this phrase in the English language, when we get to the end of our road.
Yeah.
You don't just walk a road just to keep walking. You walk a road to reach a destination.
Right.
So your institutions have to be designed to bring us to a destination.
Right.
How does that relate to Iblis and despair? Because he ran out of something.
Right.
He reached the end of the road for Iman, for faith in what Allah was telling him. When you give up faith, you've reached the end of the road. You've spent everything that you have to spend.
Right.
Lastly, you have labasa, lam, ba, sin. That's clothing. Clothing is a social statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you will eventually reach the end of the road when you undress. You will undress until there's nothing more to take off. So it's not just, going back to the idea of sabil, it is not just establishing social events. that which pleases the social nature, the gregarious nature in the human being. We have to set up institutions that have an end agenda. Allah calls it akhirah. It has an end agenda. What do we hope to accomplish at the end of all of this for our institution? Major question for us as a community. I thank you. You've been a very pleasant audience. Obviously, there is much more to say on these subjects. And inshallah, we will do this if we have to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times a year at various places in the country, because our souls hanker for this understanding. Assalamu alaikum.
Takbir. 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 Yes, Allah is wonderful. Allahu Akbar. It's from my Imam, W.D. Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. All these scholars. Make you want to cry.
Yes,
Well, we just warming up. We got a day and a half of this to go, so it's going to be wonderful all through it.
Slave to anybody. Don't even listen to me and not use your own mind. I'd rather see you walk out of here and say, I don't want Imam W.D. Muhammad is my leader anymore, and exercise your own mind, your freedom of choice, and the freedom to think for yourself. Don't obey me without questioning me. Question me, and obey me only when you feel satisfied that obedience to me is what Allah is pleased with, and according to the Qur'an and according to the life of Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, you know why I really want to open up with that introduction? It's because freedom is here. Freedom is here. And I really want you to be careful of the slave gatherers. They're out here now trying to throw nets over you and gather you to be a slave again. Please, brothers and sisters, I'm earnestly begging you, come to the Qur'an. Come first to the Qur'an in the life of Muhammad, and pay particular attention to the leadership of Imam W.D. Muhammad. His leadership has not gone anywhere. You know, he said once, the sheep knows the voice of the shepherd. He said that back in 76, 77. He said, there's going to come a time when they're going to speak against Imam Muhammad. And some of you going to walk away from me. He said, it's okay. You have that freedom. But those of you that hear my voice, keep in line with where we're going. So, the Qur'an is what the Imam brought to us. Not only that, but the life of Muhammad and the tools to understand it. Because he said, somebody came to me and said, Brother Imam, we thank you for bringing us the Quran and the Sunnah. He said, is that all I brought? He said, you had that. Then he said this, I came out with the tools of language and a vision that nobody had before. I began to work with those tools to get you to move in the direction of that vision. With the mercy and help of Allah, whose mercy gave me those tools and what vision for us to be where we are today. When I came into the picture, we tackled language to bring it into a new language environment that would make it possible for us to move out into the world of people or human beings. Allah blessed us to be successful. Your first language for you to learn is not Spanish, not French, Italian, Russian, Chinese, nor German. It is Arabic. Your Imam, W.D. Muhammad, would not be as advanced as he is if he hadn't received that and did his study with dictionaries. I did not only study the word in English, but I got the Arabic dictionary and I studied the language in its original form, Quranic Arabic. Although God was guiding me to different other sources of information and to look for many things, the help would not have been complete and would not been in the I would not have been in the position I am in now to teach you had I not studied Arabic grammar and the Arabic language. Do you remember that? Yeah. Some of you do. Yeah. Now, here we are again. We want to follow this leader. We want to grow in this leadership. And I want you to understand this. As I said, I don't know what I said it, maybe one of these other talks. I may have said it last week, I don't know. But I know where I came from. I know what streets on Chicago I came from. I knew what I was. I knew how they used to say I would be dead before I was 21. That's the kind of life I live. I know when I went to prison at 17 years old fighting gangs and stuff. I know when I came under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, wanting to be a man, a black man, for my own people. And I know when I heard the voice of Imam W.D. Muhammad as Minister Wallace, I said, he's different. So, over the years now, let me tell you this. In 1969, I was on 63rd Street in Chicago, and I went to Ellis Bookstore. Some of you may have remembered if you're from that area. Ellis Bookstore. And I bought my first Qur'an. And I would begin to read that Qur'an, and every time I looked at the Arabic over there, I said, I wonder what it's saying over there. I did. So my appetite began to grow. Now, you know how we used to go out and sell papers? And we used to do a du'a. We'd stand up in a circle before we go into the field with the papers. Remember those days. Those of you who were soldiers. Some of you was hiding out, but I was one of the soldiers. And this brother named Renee, I can't remember, I know it was Renee X2. And he led the prayer, the dua, and now we understand. He said, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Then he said, oh Allah, God is among those who God is God is right and preserve us among those who God. Then he went on with the prayer. And I'm just wondering, what was that he said before that? So as soon as he finished, I said, man, what was that you said that Bismillah like that? So that was in the name of Allah, merciful, the business is a mercy. But he said it so pretty. I said, where'd you learn that, man? He said, oh, Ali Baghdadi, he teaches everyone. I said, man, I want to learn that, man. I want to learn that. I was so fired up just to learn Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And that's how I got my appetite grow. Then I went to the class, and Ali Baghdadi, he would give us Darasa and Wazana. He give you 6 letters. He give you 6 letters a week. So I'm sitting there, and I came up to the second week I came up and I said, Baghdadi, is there any way that you can give us more than what you're giving? He said, well, the people, they're kind of slow and they, I said, look, I need to learn this Arabic before the mothership comes. I need to learn this Arabic before the mothership comes. Because you need to know this language. I'm just telling you the truth. I ain't making this up. So he began to give me extra lessons. I would go over to his house and etc. And I was told by one brother, one officer, he told me, why are you going to wasting time there? You can't sell papers with Arabic. Nobody out here speak Arabic. So he said, and Allah is going to teach us Arabic when we get to Egypt in a twinkling of an eye anyway. You know, those that get on the ship, if you weren't overweight, if you were overweight, you got dropped off in the Congo until you lost weight. Am I right or wrong? Yeah, I don't know. This ain't no make-up story. This is what you were taught. Alright. So, another brother, I used to work at Muhammad Speak newspaper plant. I used to be the cameraman supervisor there. And they used to call me the Holy One from Mount Paran. That was the nickname. I was always fasting and reading the Qur'an. And those of you remember Yusuf Shaw in Chicago, he used to, and the Holy One from Mount Paran. And he would come measuring the earth, and the earth is 6 million miles, and he would go through the actual fact. But anyway, that's what he used to nickname because I always read the Qur'an. So the brother coming in, everybody went upstairs for lunch, and I'm sitting there at the table reading the Qur'an, fasting, you know. So he said, brother, why you always reading that book? I said, you're supposed to read. He said, that's the messenger book. You trying to be the messenger, ain't you? These are struggles. You know, at one time, it was looked down on to study Arabic. I'm going to tell you, you got criticized for it. Now that wasn't the will of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because it was in the newspaper all the time to learn Arabic, French, Spanish, and English. So I asked Sheikh Shabazz once, I said, why is he telling us to learn all these languages? Why can't we just learn the holy language? He said, because the messenger said that these are the languages that enslaved our people. I said, oh, okay, I need to get them too. You know, but I'm getting the Arabic first. Alright, so over the years, brothers and sisters, a lot of the techniques that I have developed in teaching Arabic, because Imam Salim is always saying, man, he said, I can tell when your students are in the audience because they have all these different techniques and different things. He said, I don't knock it down. He said, I just said it ain't my way of doing it. You know, because everybody don't teach the same. But I had a strong desire to try to overcome the obstacles that I identified in our people. I used to hear it all the time. Just a negative attitude. Nigga, you can't learn Arabic, you can't learn that. You just see that all the time. So I would pray to Allah, Allah bless me to make it easier and easier. You know, and then one day I was reading the Quran, and what did I see? وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. And certainly we have made the Quran very, very, not just easy. Yassarna means very intensified easy. He makes it very easy for you to learn and understand. Is there anyone will be mindful to apply themselves? I said, look at that. I told my wife, I said, look at this. Look at here. I had proof. Because even though I was telling them it was easy, they didn't believe it. Right. Now you say you believe in God? Here it is. He said it's easy. And I began to get more. I began to get more recruits in terms of learning Arabic, but it was still an obstacle. Now I'm giving this historical background on how we arrived at here today and what I want to present to you today. You have a mind that should be respected. Our leader, Imam Muhammad, respected the mind of this community. He told me once, he said, you know, Constant, he said, there are those in the Muslim world that call me a fool. He said, I don't mean the fool of this world, but the fool in Arabic. The word fool in Arabic is a bean. A bean. And he said, you know how they used to say, you ain't nothing but old bean head. You remember that terminology? A bean. He said, and the fool, he said the fool bean is that bean that grows, and when it gets ripe, it opens up. So you'll know that it's there. And then he said, what they're trying to tell me, I need to stop opening up the knowledge to fools. That's what he told me.
Wow.
He didn't say this from the, he might have said it from the Ross one. I know he told me this in the private conversation too. I'll find it. But if you got the logic, you can trace it. Anyway, he said, but God is ordering me to do this.
That's right.
Now,
That's right.
he came to Louisiana once he spent a month with us at a campsite teaching Arabic during Ramadan. I need to stop telling all these stories, but you need to see this picture. There was a conversation going on in the cabin. We was at a cabin. And the conversation was going on. So Imam Kamaluddin and Imam was talking about cooking. Now Imam was a hell of a cook. So Kamaluddin, I can cook too. So Raouf is saying, well, it sounds like that's a challenge going on. So the Imam say, okay, what's your best dish? Imam Kamaluddin. He said, my best dish is Chinese. You know. And Kamaluddin said, but Imam, I cook Chinese so good that when you eat it, you can speak it. Because now you know what's on there. I need to tell you some of these things about our leader. So we went to the store. We went to the store to get the supplies. On the way, this is what the point was. On the way, the Imam is sitting in the passenger side on the drive. Ralph is driving. Me and Kamaluddin sitting in the back. And we just was talking. Then it was quiet for a minute. Then the Imam all of a sudden he said, you know, Satan just spoke to me. Wasn't nobody talking. So he said, you know, we didn't say nothing. He said, you know what he said? He said, just use some of what your father gave for a while until you can get them all in, and then bring them to the truth.
Wow.
He said, but I told him no. I'm going to do just what God's telling me to do. I'm sharing something with you. You know, that I will never forget these things. To see the purity of this man, the love of this man for this community. Because then he began to explain about the problems that was in the community and different things like that. And the people holding back and refusing to move and this and that. And he couldn't get us to move. So Satan was telling him to use some of the techniques of his daddy. He refused to. He said, I'm going to stick with the Qur'an and what Allah says in it. That's why I keep bringing you back to this. There's evidence that this man was a Quranic leader. He loved the Quran. And he promoted the Quran, and he wanted you to have the Quran more than anything because it was not your intimidator, but your liberator. That's what I want you to understand. Now, let me go to this point. I'm not going to need as much as I am, but Allah helping me to roll this right along. I was telling you the other day, Imam Muhammad said that we live in an oppressive word environment. And the environment, he said, that oppresses us, the most oppressive thing in the environment, he said, is the worship of God. Man wants you to see him as God. So instead of you studying what God has created and being inspired by, you see his buildings, his planes, his jets, his economic system, and he'll cut your lights off, cut your water off, repossess your car, the whole thing. So you become afraid of man more than you're afraid of God.
That's right.
You will make it to work on time, but not on prayer. Because you're afraid of man, not God. Because man has imposed himself upon your nature to make you his slave. Our leader, Imam Muhammad, never tried to make anybody his slave. I don't care what these cats say, these dudes say. He was always freely giving this knowledge in an open way. Now, Allah says in this book, he said, we hurl truth at falsehood and knocks out his brains. Are you familiar with that verse? But falsehood the lies, the weak ideals, is what has shackled and chained the mind. And trained the mind. You ever been talking to somebody and say, and you're doing something, and then all of a sudden, oh man, you broke my train of thought.
Yeah.
You ever heard that before?
Yeah.
My train of thought and chain of thought. Both of them is the same. There's a chain and train of thinking that you have that somebody else gave you without your permission. And because of that, they have locked up a part of your mind that is the major part of your mind called the subconscious. I mentioned this to you Friday, and I want to continue today. The power of your subconscious mind and your subconscious thinking is greater than your conscious mind and your conscious thinking that you have. Because what's formed your conscious mind, that you paid for that education at college X, Y, and Z, and the other oppressions and things that you went through, if you think about what formed your language thought process, that's one thing. But I mentioned to you Friday, one of the first books the Imam advised his community to buy was Subliminal Seduction. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
You said you did anyway.
Yeah.
If you don't, go find it. And he was emphasizing how they have subliminally come and disrespected the conscious threshold and gone under the threshold to get into your subconscious and establish habits there and control you from those habits. And you're doing things without even being aware of it. He said somebody came to me saying, "Brother Imam, they brought him the book, I forget the name of it. They Learn Elders as Iron book. Protocol. Yeah, the Protocol to Learn Elders as Iron. He said, "Brother Imam," he said, "the Jews are trying to take over the world." He said, "You know what I told them?" He said, "They took it over years ago." He said, "That's a late book." He said, "They put that out so you can be distracted over there reading it while they are doing something in a whole other dimension with a whole new country." He said, "That's all new."
That's right. That's right.
He said, "Listen to me." That's why he said, "Listen to me."
That's what he said.
Man, look. I thank Allah for the time I spent with him. So, I was sitting with him asking questions one time. I was dealing with Sufism, and I was doing all kind of questions. He was looking at me. I guess when I look back at it, he said, "This poor. But you know I was always reading everything. He said, "Look," he said, "Constant." He said, "Put all those books away."
Yeah.
So we just and I tell you, I'm forgetting a lot. This is the same advice to a lot of people. He said, "Put all those books away." He said, "Read the Qur'an and listen to me." He said, "You'll be able to pick them up later on and rewrite." Just what he told me. And I obeyed him, but not all the time. I will go pick up something. But I'm always in a bookstore. Me and Shuai, we go in the bookstore, we be racing for the books. Only one of them there. I saw it first, man. I visited Imam Salim one time in Detroit. Me and Shuai was in the office. And I was showing him, I was telling him about this grammar book. He said, "I got something better than that." I said, "You do?" And he showed these books. It's a 12-volume set. And he said, I said, "Where you get that at?" Boom. Well, I bought so many books from that store now out there in California. 12-volume book on all Quranic grammar. It grammatized the whole Quran. So I went out there. No, that's
one of them.
Yeah, that's not this one. He has storages that y'all don't know about. But he turned me on to him. And I got that one a whole much more. But what is my point in all this? I want you, brothers and sisters, to leave this conference today, especially those who are students of Arabic, with an appetite to read the Quran with your subconscious mind. Now, let me tell you how this works. I gave you a sheet. That sheet I gave you, if you see on it, there's certain readings here. And it says scope and sequence. This is those of you who are educated, you know what that means. Quranic study technique course. Objects of strategy to read, understand, and comprehend the Quran. Now, I don't have all of the ones here because I knew I wasn't going to be able to cover them all. And I'm not going to be able to cover all of these. But if you see the very first one, this is a reading program. Let me tell you how a reading program works. And let me establish this too. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it was mentioned earlier. I don't know, I forgot. I think Imam Shu'aib mentioned it, and also Imam Bilal mentioned it. Where Allah said, سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَ إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ. And we shall teach you where you shall not forget. سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَ إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ. And we will teach you where you will not forget. Now, you know this term, Sanuqri'uka, you know where it comes from? Qara. To read. To read. But it doesn't translate it, but reading is a teaching. Now, yes, Allah has already taught you in a way that you will not forget, because the reading and teaching that He established in your biological body, you don't forget it. You remember how to breathe. You remember how to... Who taught you sucking? Did you go to sucking school? Look, I've delivered several of my children, and as soon as they come out, their mouth go like that. Once that breast hit it, they in paradise. I told my wife, I said, look at that. Ain't nobody taught him that. Sucking himself off. Until he gets full, then he calms down. Right after he came in the world, I brought him in, I cut the cord, cleaned him up, everything, her up too. One of my children was born in the sack. My wife said, what is it? What is that? I was Dr. Qasim. Anyway, I got the sack off of her and everything. Took the squeegee, got the stuff out the nose and everything. And she kicked off. She came out with Aleph. You know, and that Aleph began with Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah! So here's this life. Every organized system that was put in there, Allah had already educated.
Yes, sir.
He had already educated. And we have to do this in discussion so you understand the arham, the womb, and what happens in the womb, and how it's shaped in the womb, and how the womb is the mercy of Allah. I'm telling Imam Muhammad this was we were talking, and I was showing him, this is one of the writings I was doing teaching, and I said, Brother Imam, here's the classroom and the class womb. And I said, you understand what I'm saying? He said, I got that. He said, I see that too. Because every womb of the woman is a classroom. And the same principle for educating the child in the womb is the same principle you use in the classroom, teachers. I can prove it to you once we get to education where I can prove this from this book that you say you believe in. Now, going back to this, so every system in you is educated. The cardiovascular system, or your circulatory system, the reproductive system, the endocrine system, the nervous system. Everything is an education, and those who study it, now they got a degree. You had to go pay to get it. Now you got your degree, your heart surgeon, the brain surgeon, and big time. I met with a brother who's one of the top brain surgeons in the country, Pakistani brother. And he wanted, you know why he wanted to meet with me? He wanted me to teach him Arabic. So I told him, I said, I'm working on a program called The Power the subconscious mind, reading the Quran, and I say, Allah sent me to you because what you have is knowledge of this brain. And we had a brain discussion, man. Woo! You'd be surprised what this brain has. So, here's my point. This is not, I'm telling you now, this is not for disbelievers and people who are full of doubt. It's not going to work for you anyway.
Right. That's right.
You got to believe. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا تفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. This is in the Qur'an, chapter 2, verse 285. Go read it. But it says that the messenger believes in his Lord, and so do believers. And they believe in the angels, they believe in the books, they believe in the prophets, and they make no distinction between any of them. And they say, "Qalu sami'na wa ata'na," that we hear and we obey. This is my point to you. If you accept, I got a lot of notes here, but I'm going to. Through the subconscious reading of the Quran, you will learn the simple technique of impressing the subconscious mind with the words of Allah in the Quran. The spirit of the words will shape the clay, nature, the clay-like nature of Adam, and it will become sounding clay, and it will form an expression of itself according to the will of Allah. Allah blessed me to write that like that. Because Imam said, before you can make an expression, you have to have an impression. Now, the reading of the Quran, see, every time you read from the Quran, you think of it as eating. Like food, I told you about this. Like you eating. You know, and when you eat food, like you ate lunch, when you eat the food, you are not telling the food where to go. You tasting it, you got your senses, all those systems to help tasting it, etc. When it goes in there, the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, the carbohydrates, the water, the lipids, you know, everything goes in there and it goes to work and goes where it is assigned to go by the system, the systems in your body that have been created by God and is controlled by the subconscious mind, and it tells it where to go. Because if it's under your conscious control, you would die tomorrow. Within a few minutes. You can't handle it. When you start running, you don't say, okay, heart, you need to speed up because we're going to go a little bit faster. You ain't doing none of that. It's already clocked in. And who created that system? God. Now, how is it that all these systems work for your biological life, even when you abuse them? You put alcohol in them, you put drugs in them, you put pig in them, you did all kind of abuse and it just fought back. You know, you take a cigarette. The lungs, the sensible lungs say, fool, air goes in here, not cigarette. The lungs say you pour in alcohol. You throw it up. The stomach says, I can't handle that, man. And you tell these systems, well, you got to because everybody's drinking. And I need a Virginia Slim so I can be slim. You doing all that. So you force the natural life that God gave you to submit to a crazy life. So now, here's your subconscious, it's going to do whatever you tell it to do when you influence it like that. So I'm reading this book, and this book is called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Murphy. So I'm reading it, and I say, and he's talking about all these billions of words that affect the mind every day. I say, Constant, what you want is nothing but the words of Allah affecting you every day on a regular basis. So I started reading the Quran a juice every day. So I finished it 1 month, then I started the next month. I say, well, I did like what Ali Baghdadi, them 6 letters. I said, I need 2 juices a day. Then I did 3 juices a day. And then some say, well, man, why don't you just do a manzil and just finish it every week and read it 4 times a month and finish it 4 times every month. Now, what does that do? I'm building a habit over and over and over and over and over again. What kind of habit? A good habit. Not a cigarette habit. Not a drinking habit. Not a lying. Some of us got a habit of just lying regularly. I'm going to tell you what. Because you are fed with lies from the radio, TV, CD, movies. Everything is a fantasy, lie, fairy tale from Santa Claus to the Easter Bunny. You've been inundated with lies since you were here to here. So it's normal for your heart to be sick. Allah says in the Quran, يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسِهِمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They attempt to deceive and lie to God, but they only deceive themselves and yashurun, and don't realize it. They're not conscious of it. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ. In their hearts is a sickness and a disease. And Allah increases their sickness and their disease. You want to know why? Because they're liars. So the lie don't do nothing but make you sick, sick, and sicker. So I want to replace in my psychology all of the lies that have surrounded me and put me in an oppressive environment with the Qur'an, the words of Allah, and let it go in. I'm not going to tell it where to go. Who am I to tell God where to go? All I do is just read it. Right. And if just like the fool, I wanted to go where he wanted to go. I'm asking him, Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim, guide us on the straight way. So now I'm reading this Qur'an, let him guide me. Well, I got to see where he's going. Why? Tell me why. If you knew, like the Imam said, if you were the leader, you would be doing what I'm doing now. Here you go again. He making another change. Why he changing the name now? We just got comfortable with it. Because you don't see what's ahead. Imam Muhammad said before he passed, I like the community the way it is now. Autonomous.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He knows this community. He grew this community. He made you independent thinkers and etc. Even to question the ministers, the imams, and everybody. So they just don't do anything to you. But if you don't study, you can't. If a man don't know the religion, he gonna do what he want to do.
That's right. That's right.
When the imam is leading the prayer and he makes a mistake, what do you say? Subhanallah, right? Now what if he's leading the prayer with hadiths in Arabic and you don't even know what you're saying? You just going Allahu Akbar. Come on. You're obligated to at least know how to pray with the book. Even if you don't become a great social psychologist, scientist, or whatever, but at least you should be able to pray with the Quran. Am I trying to make you feel bad? No, I am not. I'm trying to encourage you that if you take the Quran today, don't wait till the night. Today, and you take don't get an English Arabic Quran. In fact, there's no such thing as an English Arabic Quran. It's the Quran, the Quran. Don't get your translator. Don't, cause that's just going to distract you, because you're going to be reading, looking over there, because he's going to be saying, here, check this out. No. When you open the Quran up, all Arabic, well, I don't read it. Don't worry about that. I know you who are talking to me now don't read it, but I'm talking about the subconscious mind that you got that can read it. Well, I didn't know that. That's because you ain't been communicating with it. You don't even know him. I want to introduce you to him or her. It's yours. Allah created it. It developed. It's over your 90% of your life. Well, I didn't know that. I'm telling you about it now. Allahu Akbar. Now, when you begin like this, just go straight down the line. Just like that. Well, I'm not, don't worry about that. Let me tell you something. How many have been to college? Many of you been to college, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you go to psychology class, do you do math in it?
No.
When you go to economics class, do you do science in it?
No.
You know what class on your schedule you going to, right?
Right.
All right, when you go in that class, you go with that book for that class.
Right.
Let me tell you something. When you get ready to do this reading, you see number 1 up here? The subconscious reading. The subconscious reading.
Yeah.
That's his or her class. Don't let no other mind thought get in there. Okay? Can you remember that?
Yeah.
Now, when you do that, you go down the line, just like I'm showing you. Just like that. Wow. Now, this is a problem for the Arabic readers. They want to stop. Yeah. Wow. That's the one. They want to stop. I've been through it. I did it. You told me somebody. I've been doing it now for 8 years. You know, I got witnesses in different parts of the country. I introduced it to different people. Some did it, some didn't. I didn't force nobody, but I just shared it with certain classes. But I was my own so-called guinea pig. I want to see it work on me. Where's my wife Nadia? Is she here? There she is. She reads out. She sang beautifully too. She's not the only one. My other wife does too. What? Yeah, both of them. They know Qur'an. They read Qur'an. But she, when I started with the subconscious reading program, her Arabic kept getting in the way. She's reading there, but her Arabic, she said, wow. I said, you got to go a little bit faster. You know. So she finally, I said, well, just do a chapter. So she moved up, then she moved up to a juice. And she started doing regular. And then I said, how many juices are you doing now? I'm doing 2 of them. I said, you can do more than that. How many you doing now? A men's. You know what a men's is?
No.
A 7. A 7. A 7.
Take beer.
Allahu Akbar. Now, you said, well, is she understanding it? I think I tell everybody, don't worry about whether you understanding the Qur'an at that way. It understands you. Let me repeat that. It understands you. And all you who think you won't be a hafiz of the Quran hafiz you.
Wow.
Because the Quran is a protector. Hafiz means protecting. It protects you. And if you memorize it, that's okay. But when you become a hafiz of the Quran is your immune system. You know what the immune system does? It catches the diseases that come into your mind. There are diseases in words. This is what you need to study. I know Imam Bilal has done this study. I studied in etymology and also lexicography and other these things. But there's a book that I have that deals with the diseases in words. Some of the words that they call the diseases so big, you know, hell, I can't pronounce. I had them ask my wife, how you pronounce this? How do the words come in? They come in disease. They come in camouflage. You know what AIDS do? How AIDS work? AIDS is a germ that gets in and disguises itself. And it gets with the T cell and hides until something breaks down. The T cell go and break it, and it busts open and it drops its poison out there. It's a hypocrite.
Right.
It's a hypocrite. That's what a hypocrite is. He's in here and he's just waiting, and then he finds a weakness in the body. And then you don't see Sister Joanne no more. My brother Rahman, he's gone. Well, what happened to him? He got bit. If you take the Quran and read it, now, I'm going to show you something else. I might well tell you this too. Now, I'm showing you this like this. Going back and forth. I wish you had Quran to do it. Yeah. But, you can go like this, and like this, and like this. Now, well, how can you? I only got 5 left. Okay. Let me tell you this. You can go back and forth like that. Now, you know, your mind is like this. This subconscious mind, you know what it is. The mind automatically knows how it should go. You know Arabic is read right to left. Right to left. All right. You know, like a baseball player, when he goes to the plate, sometimes he's swinging 2 bats, right? And he's doing the bats like that. So when he let it down, his muscles are already tuned in to swing twice as hard. when you're reading like that, the mind automatically knows how it's supposed to go. So it's going to work extra hard to put it in the right way. It's got real quiet. What will this do for you? First of all, by you picking up the Quran every day, you got to do this every day. And it don't take a whole lot of time. I can do a menzil now in 20 minutes. I asked you this Friday, what do you have to lose? Just tell me, what would you have to lose by trying this? What will you have to gain? Let me tell you something. When you get to the point where you're looking for your Quran every day, that I got to read my manzil, I got to read my juice. You know, I haven't read it yet. Or when you get up first thing in the morning or late at night, do it. I see Camilla looking at me. Now you know I told y'all this in Oakland, what, 2-3 years ago? Yeah. Okay, I'm still on the same job. I ain't changed. But let me tell you something. When the more you do it, you build a habit. What do they call the dress of the nuns? A habit. You know why they call it a dress? I mean a habit? Because it's a habit to wear it like that. Imam Bilal dealt with labasa. The Quran said, "Libasu taqwa, dhalika khayr." Libasu taqwa, dhalika khayr. And the best dress is taqwa. If you want the Quran, you have to be muttaqin to get the guidance. Hudat lil muttaqin. Muttaqin comes from waqiyah. Waqiyah is the same word that forms taqwa and muttaqi and all this. Waqiyah, to guard, to preserve, to protect with a consciousness that respects God. I'm like Salim now. That's a definition that I did.
That's right.
But it's the same as many of them is. You know. But the point is, the more you do it every day, you know what happens? I'm going to tell you what happens. You're going to treat each other better. Because God is going to be influencing you. Just like you eat a good meal. You read a manzil or a juice, you just ate a good meal. Okay, I just ate my breakfast. You're going to treat your wife better. You're going to treat your husband better. You're going to treat your children better. You're going to treat each other better. We're going to have more peace in the masjid because you're going to have everybody reading the Quran. My goal is to get every American to read it and get the Muslim world to start reading. Alright, I'm thankful to Allah that we did have that time. They gave me extra 15 minutes, so that's I didn't if you look at this, I want to just do this real quick. If you look at, alright, you have your first period. If you set your own schedule. Okay. Your first period is a subconscious reading. You know how to do that. Your conscious reading is, okay, you're just going to read for conscious reading. Okay. Then there's reading for pronunciation and fluency. Tajweed. You know, there might be something you hard for them. Take that class out. You know. And then you got reading comprehension, which is the best. Reading for tafsir. Quranic explains itself, Quran explains itself, and with W.D. Muhammad and others. Reading for grammatical analysis. That's what I wanted to tell the students. You know, when I read, I got a class that I do for grammatical analysis, same where I can go down there and I can pick out grammar, blah, 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 blah. You know, forms of the verb, this, that, and that, etc. You know, reading for mufradat, which is vocabulary. That's not on this sheet, it's on the other sheet, because I got about 13 of these. And reading and writing, reading for memorization. Let me tell you something. If you find, I'm gonna walk away talking. If you find yourself in reading the Quran and something jump at you like this and pull you like that, that's for you to memorize.
Okay.
That sentence, that word, that statement. God spoke to you in a way that's for you, and you right now for whatever it is in your system that needs it. That's how you communicate. So I pray Allah bless us. I hope we didn't over. He told me to stop about a minute ago, so I didn't 1 minute over. But I thank Allah for this conference and what we've been achieving. There's a good spirit here. Let's keep working on it. I pray Allah that everybody leave here, especially the students who are studying the country. Start teaching other people. Take this message. Anybody can do it. And if you don't know Arabic, it's easier for you than the one who does, because you just gonna keep going. That's right. And give me a call. Let me know how you're doing.
Stop there. Stop there. Stop there. Woo. Imam Kazim. It's so warm hearing those words that the Imam did with him, and how they talk. But again, this is a conference. And in conferences, we continue to move on and move forward. And we thank Imam Kazim. We thank Imam Bilal. We thank Imam Fahim Shuaib. Everybody say Allahu Akbar. I said say Allahu Akbar. So God is the greatest. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, shake it off a little bit more. That was a good game right there. Excellent. Next, we're going to move to the advanced students. They're going to do a grammatical analysis of Quranic verses.